Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's update on Tropical Storm Tammy. So, Tropical Storm Tammy has intensified since yesterday's update, and as of 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, Thursday, October the 19th, Tropical Storm Tammy has maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 1,001 millibars, and west-northwesterly movement at 13 miles per hour. Looking at the latest National Hurricane Center cone for Tropical Storm Tammy, Tammy is expected to pass north of Barbados tonight and approach Martinique, Dominica, and Guadeloupe as we go into tomorrow morning around 2 a.m. Eastern Time, intensify to a hurricane as Tammy moves across Antigua Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis into 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon, as well as Anguilla, and then move to the north of Anguilla by 2 a.m. Sunday Eastern Time, and between 2 p.m. Sunday and 2 p.m. Tuesday, Tammy is expected to curve out to sea while maintaining hurricane status. We have tropical storm watches in effect for Barbados as well as Martinique and Anguilla, tropical storm warnings in effect for Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and St. Kitts and Nevis, and we have hurricane watches for Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and St. Kitts and Nevis as well. Looking at the latest tropical storm force wind probabilities and timing from the National Hurricane Center, tropical storm force winds are expected to begin around 2 a.m. tonight Eastern Time across Barbados. Tropical storm force winds are expected to begin tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. across St. Lucia as well as Guadeloupe and Dominica. By Friday 2 p.m., tomorrow 2 p.m., we're expecting tropical storm force winds to begin across Guadeloupe. And then as we go into Friday 8 p.m., we're expecting tropical storm force winds to begin across Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Barthlemey. And then tropical storm force winds begin in Anguilla around Saturday 12 a.m. And then we're expecting tropical storm force winds to begin in the U.S. British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico sometime around Saturday 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Looking at the latest Zoom Earth satellite imagery and interactive cone for Tropical Storm Tammy, Tropical Storm Tammy is really starting to look better organized on the visible satellite as we see a core of convection beginning to develop around and just east of the center as Tammy is dealing with minimal wind shear right now. Tammy is expected to become a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm by Friday 1 a.m. Central American Time as she moves just to the northeast of Barbados, where a tropical storm watch is in effect. As we go into Friday 1 p.m. Central American Time, we're looking at a 65-mile-per-hour tropical storm moving to the west-northwest towards Martinique, Dominica, and Guadeloupe, with tropical storm watches in Martinique, tropical storm warnings in Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, and St. Kitts and Nevis, and hurricane watches in Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, and St. Kitts and Nevis. As we go into Saturday 1 a.m. Central American Time, we're looking at a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm over northeastern Guadeloupe, moving through Antigua, Barbuda, and St. Kitts and Nevis through Saturday morning, and going to Saturday 1 p.m. Central American Time, a 75-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane just east of St. Barthlemey and Anguilla, moving through Anguilla or just to the east by Saturday afternoon, and then going to Sunday 1 a.m. Central American Time, an 80-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane moving to the north-north of Anguilla, going into Sunday 1 p.m. Central American Time, an 85-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane curving to the north, going into Monday 1 p.m. Central American Time, 85-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane curving to the northeast, and then Tammy is expected to move out to sea into the Atlantic Ocean by Tuesday 1 p.m. Central American Time as an 85-mile-per-hour Category 1 hurricane. Looking at the latest spaghetti model guidance for Tropical Storm Tammy, in the next 24 hours, Tammy is expected to move to the north of Barbados by about 50 to 150 miles. In the next 36 hours, we see the majority of the computer models moving hurricane or Tropical Storm Tammy across Dominica and Guadeloupe. Going to the next 60 to 72 hours, we see actually some model disagreement. Between about 48 and 72 hours, we see Tammy moving through Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Barthlemey, and about 60 to 72 hours through Anguilla. We do have some model guidance now taking Tammy through the U.S. and British Virgin Islands and close to Puerto Rico. So that needs to be watched closely. And then eventually, as we go into the next 96 to 168 hours, Tammy begins to curve out to sea, just or well to the southeast of Bermuda. Looking at the latest intensity model guidance for Tropical Storm Tammy, Tammy is now expected to become a borderline hurricane in the next 24 hours, and majority of the models are keeping Tammy a hurricane over the next 48 to 84 hours, intensifying it to a mid-grade hurricane as she moves through Antigua, Barbuda, and Anguilla. So the model guidance is unfortunately trending stronger with Tammy as she moves through the Caribbean, and eventually as Tammy moves to the north of the Caribbean, several of the models, in fact the majority, are strengthening Tammy to a Category 2, with some models taking Tammy to a Category 3, even Category 4 hurricane. So this could become quite an intense hurricane, thankfully, once Tammy moves north of the Caribbean islands. Now, looking at rainfall projections from the GFS Euro and Canadian models, the GFS has a farther east track bringing about 1 to 3 inches of rain across most of the Lesser Antilles, with about 3 to 5 inches in Guadeloupe and Antigua and Barbuda. However, if this core range shifts 100 miles to the southwest, could be seeing much bigger flooding problems across the Windward Islands. Looking at the European model shows a slight westerly tick in the track. So we're seeing a good 2 to 4 inches from Martinique northward through Anguilla into the Virgin Islands, and then across Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Guadeloupe. We're seeing a good 3 to 6 inches in the European model, Barbados about 2 inches, and then looking at the Canadian model is showing Tammy moving directly through the islands, with the core moving through the islands, bringing a widespread corridor of 6 to 11 inches across Martinique, Dominica, Antigua, Barbuda into Anguilla and Guadeloupe. So if the Canadian model verifies, we could be seeing some pretty dangerous flooding across the Caribbean. So thanks for watching this evening's update on Tropical Storm Tammy. Make sure you're making tropical storm and hurricane preparations if you live across Barbados, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, into Anguilla, and St. Barthlemey. Please stay safe and have a wonderful evening, my friends.